Welcome, everybody. Paul, good to see you. Happy New Year to everybody. We're so pleased to kick off our monthly webinar series for 2024 today. And we're so happy to be doing it with this particular topic. Paul and I we love talking about this war for talent that we're all in. And that's really the theme of the series for the year, is this idea of how do we win this war? And of course, if you think in terms of civil strife wars, you think about battles, right? You have to win a battle to win the war. And so what we'll be really looking at every month this year, all the little battles that we've got to pay attention to win this war for talent. And so today we're going to focus at a high level on three strategies that you can really implement today. And if you've attended any of our webinars in the past, you know that we believe in walking out with actionable things you can do. And so we believe we're going to deliver on that today. We've also got some new twists and surprises. So if you've attended some of our webinars in the past, I think you're going to see a few new wrinkles this year and how we're doing some things for you to make your experience even better. So we all know that right now, especially, it's been so frustrating trying to attract and to hire and recruit. And I want to underline that word, great talent, right? But the challenge is for us today, it's not that the workforce isn't out there. They're out there and they're working. That's the challenge. And so what we've got to do is we've got to get ourselves known as a great place to work. Okay. And I don't mean that in the terms of going through all the challenges it is to get named best place to work in America kind of thing. I mean, yeah, if you can do that, great. But we're talking about getting known in your marketplace. It's just a great place to be and sharing that light in your marketplace. And that's what we're going to focus on today. And what's going to be, honestly, an underlying theme throughout the course of the year in our webinar series. And so you are in the right spot today if you're afraid your current employees, especially your really good ones, are going to leave just because they got a better offer. I'm starting to see some of that settle in the market a little bit. It's not as bad as it was maybe this year, or excuse me, last year at this time. But it's still a challenge for us. I mean, locally here in central Pennsylvania, I just saw a convenience store is upping its pay to $19 an hour. I mean, that's unheard of, right? So we know that people are still just throwing money at the problem. Also, I mean, if your team's overworked because you've got critical roles open, we're going to discuss that. We know that it's like the hamster on the wheel. It just keeps the problem going. We're overworking our best workhorses. They get tired. We can't find new workhorses. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, folks, but it becomes a challenge for us. And ultimately, this seminar series and today is for you if you want to be the company that top talent leaves other companies for. We're seeing it. The clients Paul and I work with are seeing it. When they get their message just right, talent is coming to them. So we know that what we're going to talk about today can make a difference for you. So why do we do this series? And honestly, why do we keep it free? Well, honestly, we decided that we don't want the hassle of collecting money for this stuff, because that's a whole nother level. We think that there's something to be said for sharing knowledge out there. And honestly, if you decide that you hear something and you love it and you can't do it and you call us, great. But we love spending time with you every month. We really do want to make a difference in the workplace and see employers thrive. It's so hard to thrive today. And so we want to share the things we've been learning with our clients and what's working with all our friends and associates. So that's why we're here and why we're doing this each month. So before we kick off right into today's content, if you did not sign up for the entire series, which you can still do, next month, you can celebrate Valentine's Day with us. Our webinar, I do see a typo. It is not at noon. Excuse me for that. That was I'm so used to us doing this at noon. It is at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. on Valentine's Day, so you can still go to lunch with your Valentine. Okay, but we're going to talk about whether your organization might be driving workers away. So 2:14, 1 p.m. And there are details on my website about that if you're not already signed up. So what are we going to talk about today? What's going on today in all this? Well, we're going to figure out we're going to share with you why candidates are fighting to work in today's best workplaces. And then most importantly, how can you become one? Secondly, how can you differentiate yourself in your workplace so you're marketing your openings and candidates are looking at it and they're afraid to miss out because they're saying, gosh, I've been waiting for ABC company to have a job that fits my qualifications, and there it is. And finally, and again, we can't stress this enough, we believe in giving you stuff you can walk out of here with, what you can do right now to create some value and excitement in your job postings. How you can make yourself stand out. I just had a business owner ask me last week, Ed, how do I stand out in the marketplace? I'm looking for, he's in kind of the construction world. I'm looking for estimators, and everybody's looking for estimators. How do I stand out? So we had a talk about this very topic. This is how you stand out. So real quick about me, my name's Ed Crow. I am the talent transformation expert for companies looking for 8-figure growth. Met Paul a couple of years ago doing a project together. We've hit it off and done several things together now since sometime during the pandemic, I believe. And Paul, he's got doctor before his name, and his journey is really, really interesting. I'm going to let him tell you about that.
Thanks, Ed. Yeah, Dr. Paul, it's way back in 1997. I graduated as a chiropractor. They let me out into the workforce and started working with patients. And everybody that you're working with that comes to see you is employed. And employment stress and the headaches that you have with working show up in your body: neck pain, back pain, like pain in the neck, pain in the butt kind of stuff. And I got tired of treating all those things because the source was really often workplaces people didn't like. And I always thought that if I'm just always cleaning up the mess, like what would I have to do in order to prevent that in the first place? So anyway, about 10 years ago, I got out of the chiropractic practice and got into coaching and publishing. And I became a storyteller because I love listening to people's stories. That's what I did my whole profession in chiropractic. I'd listen to people. You have a little short time to figure people out, sort them out, and figure out what's really happening. And that's what I started doing in publishing, listening to people and telling their stories. And Ed and I connected on that because he thought he needed to tell a story a little differently. And we hit it off there, and he thought, hey, maybe you could help workplaces tell their stories about why they are a workplace of choice and why people would want to work there instead of other places. And that's really the topic of our entire webinar series and what we're talking about today. So that's me in a nutshell, and we'll get things rolling.
Thank you. So why will candidates fight to work for today's top talent magnates? That's the real question. If you want, I did forget to announce, please use the chat function. By all means, use the chat function, raise your hand or whatever. But let me know right now, why will candidates fight to work for today's top talent magnets? Why do you believe they would do that? Our experience, I'll kick it off. Our experience is that today's workers want something more. They want more than just a job that they show up to, put 40 hours a week in, and then say, okay, I got my paycheck, I'm going home. Paul, we got something? I think I just saw something pop there.
Christy says personal satisfaction, which is a really big one for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly, Christy. Thank you for offering that. Yes. And that what's interesting about that insight is that the personal satisfaction, what Paul and I are seeing, is going beyond the satisfaction of a job well done. It's the satisfaction of being out with friends, and when they're asking about your work and you're saying, I love my job, I love the people that I work with. Now, do we say that every single day we leave work? No. But if on average, we can say, I love my job, I love the people I work with, that's a sign of a top talent magnet. And when we have employees that are getting their personal needs met in terms of their need for socialization, challenge, meaningful work, those kinds of things, and we're pairing that up with an environment where they can thrive and we're rewarding them well for driving results, we've got the perfect mix in there. That's when the old snowball starts to roll downhill because people start to hear about these companies. We all know these companies. You know them on a national scale, but even in your local markets, the companies that people say, yeah, when they're opening, they get applicants because people want to get in there. Those are some of the reasons why people will fight. And so the question is, I always think this little girl, she's got the pigtails like Wendy in the fast food chain, the little redhead. Well, what if I told you could be known? So again, seeing some of the companies that are in the session today, I mean, I know several of you, and you're known in your market, you're known in your geography, and could you be known as the best in your market to work for? And the answer is yes, you can be, okay? But it takes some effort, and it's not all about what you're doing in-house. Obviously, that's a big part of it. But you've all heard the old shining your light under the bushel basket, right? If you're doing lots of great things and your employees believe you're doing lots of great things, but you're not out there talking about all these great things, you're keeping that light, under the bushel basket instead of letting it shine out. And so what we're going to talk about today is, how do you shine the light on yourself? How do you get to brag on all the good things that your organization is doing? What's the best way to do that? And how do you leverage that? And that's what I love about my association with Paul is he is so good. And when we get to his portion, he's so good at that story piece, pulling that out of people to the point that, as you heard, he made a transition out of it. And so why do people compete to get into some of these types of business? Anyone want to share that? Why do you believe some people, or why people compete to get into some businesses? What is it that makes those businesses so different from us? When I was in college and I was working at the local grocery store bagging groceries, and one of my coworkers had gotten a job at UPS. Now this is 1990 or 1987, excuse me. Nobody knew who UPS was back then. They never advertised. If you weren't in business, you didn't know what, the brown trucks. I had no idea who UPS was. My extent of my knowledge was that I had memories of going there in Cub Scouts to see the trucks or something like that. But what I learned then from my time there was, as we grew, people recognized, hey, this company demands a lot of its people, but it rewards them really well. And UPS started to become an employer of choice for certain positions, not all, but certain positions. And so the reason that people compete to get into certain companies is they hear the buzz that's going on. And in my case, my coworker said, Ed, you got to go to UPS. They treat college kids really well. You're going to earn more than you're earning bagging groceries, and you can work your way through college. That was enough for me. And I made a career out of it for a while. Those are things that we have to answer. And you're going to hear about that from Paul when we get to his portion here in a bit. And so what we're talking about and what Paul's going to elaborate on is what we call the candidate experience. We spend a lot of time talking about the employee experience and employee engagement and what happens. And Paul and I will be addressing those things in later webinars throughout the course of the year. But we have to start with the candidates. What is it like for someone to be courted by your organization? Are they courted by your organization? So I've always likened the candidate experience to dating. How often, and you know, maybe a lot of us have been married a long time or whatever and been out of the dating pool for a long time, but I never personally used any kind of online dating. Okay, but let's look at online dating for a moment. You put your profile out there. You're not putting a picture of yourself looking all ragged and just out of bed. You're getting all prettied up. Your profile's out there. This is who I am. If you think you like what you see and a little bit about me, right swipe, left swipe, whatever the swipe is, and let's talk. Okay. The point is you're putting your best foot forward. Do we do that as employers? Because essentially, when we run a job ad, we're asking for a date, right? We are asking for someone to send us information back to see if we want to swipe on them. And then do we want to go on a date, which would be an interview, right? And so are we really putting our best foot forward? And are we treating these candidates like we value them? And for those of you in the room that are in HR, I know that for a long time we didn't. We ghosted them. They would call and call and call. We would ignore their calls, all under the guise of, well, we're too busy. And now our same HR profession is complaining that candidates are ghosting us. We're reaping what we sowed, right? And so we're going to talk, and you're going to hear a lot more about the candidate experience, not only today, but throughout our webinar series. We're just touching on a couple pieces of the candidate experience today. But I'll ask you to think about how easy is it for people to become a candidate for employment with your company? And how do they feel once they become a candidate for employment? Do they feel special? Do they feel wanted? We'll get into that in a moment. Ultimately, with the market we're in, we've got to think of candidates as our customers. So those of you in the room that are in HR, you've got to either flip your hat around to marketing or buddy up to your marketing person, because we've got to learn to think a little differently about how we're drawing talent to us, and specifically in how we're treating our candidates. So in terms of customers, would you ever ghost a customer? If they called and said, hey, I'm looking for an update on that product I bought, would your customer service team just not call the customer back? You'd lose that customer, right? But how often do we do that to a candidate? And now here's the thing. Sometimes we say, oh, I don't have time for that, and they're not a good candidate anyway. Okay, maybe both of those things are true. But what happens when that person's out at happy hour and they say, oh, yeah, ABC company, I applied, never heard back from, I've called 3 times, sent 5 emails, I got nothing. They don't care about their people. That's the kind of thing that's going on. And so we've got to figure out what's the happy medium, right? How do we take oh my gosh, I'm so busy, I'm doing more with less, Ed. How can I possibly respond to all this stuff? But then there's the outcome of it, right? We've got to somehow figure out, based on the resources that we have, how do we maintain a relationship with a candidate, even if it's a candidate that perhaps is not a good fit for us? Because we don't know who they know and who they might want to bring in and say, hey, I know it wasn't a good fit for me, but they treated me really well. Hey, Joe, why don't you go send your resume, and I think you'd be a good fit for it. So I would like you to, and don't put this in the chat, I want you to think about and maybe write down, where do you think your candidate experience is right now? And we kept it real simple, right? Is it sour face? Is it neutral? Or is it positive? Where would you honestly think it is? And if you're not sure, why don't you go talk to the last 10 people you hired and ask them what their experience was like from the time they hit send on the resume until the time you offered them the job and they walked in the door. because that's the time period we're looking at. That's the candidate experience. And so um, ask yourself what that's like. And if it's not up in the green, happy face, okay, what do we have to do to move the needle?
It's interesting. I
So,
like that the
yeah, please
candidate
do.
experience. Yeah, we're saying that it starts when they hit that apply button and they start that interaction. That's where actually the engagement part of the
Hmm.
candidate experience starts. There's the first part, the attraction part, and
Hmm.
in a lot of cases, our attraction is starting with, oh no, we have an open position and we got to put something out there,
Hmm.
and we put up the job post on Indeed and other job boards, and that's the first time that we're creating any awareness. And interestingly, when Ed was saying that you can be known as like a place that people are fighting to get into, lining up and waiting for those open positions. Well, they need to know about your workplace in order to be anticipating those open positions so that when they see it go up on the job board or there's postings and they're checking your website and looking at your careers page, they need to know already that, hey, there's people there that really like it there, that actually love it. Oh, you know what they offer on their lunch hours? Like you can go in and get sort of, you know, snacks or whatever, or what they have for people that want to do service in the community. You can actually take a personal day to do that and they'll pay you for that. Those sort of things are things that people talk about when they're hitting the pub after work or whatever, and they're just like, did you know that that workplace does that? Like, we don't get that. That's the buzz that makes people a workplace of choice. So we want that experience of the candidate experience happening even before your job post goes up, and
Hmm.
that's the attraction part, so that even if you're not looking for a position at the time, you're still looking for candidates. You're still looking for talent that could be a good fit for your company, and you want them looking for you as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great segue, Paul, because I'm getting ready to turn it over to you, right? On how do you do that? How do you differentiate your workplace and market those openings so that when a candidate sees it, they go, "Oh man, I've been waiting to learn more about that company, or I've learned about that company, and oh my gosh, they actually have an opening that fits my qualifications. I got to hit send really fast, right? I want to get in there." So, Paul, take it away.
Okay, so we're talking about differentiating your company from other companies, and you're all looking for the same people, and like Ed said, everybody's looking for an estimator, or if it's frontline positions you're trying to fill. Well, they can get $18, 19, $20 an hour. They're shopping for the best price, but why would somebody pick you out of the whole bunch? And why are they even going to pay attention to anything you post? Because they know that there's jobs out there for them. So we want to make sure that when we post something, it gets noticed. And we have, actually, at the end of this webinar, Ed's going to offer you like our PDF on how to make your job posts attractive or how to get them noticed. And what we need to do is stop doing what we used to do when posting like a job on a job board would get hundreds of applicants, and then it would actually be a headache because you'd have all these resumes to sift through, and then you'd have to pick the viable candidates, and then start phoning them, and everybody's just like, oh, I don't have time for this. Well, now the candidate experience is really important because they are rating your company based on the experience they have with it. Just like as a customer, if their customer service isn't great, it doesn't matter what your product's like. They might not buy it because they just don't like the experience of it. So it doesn't matter if you pay a lot. The employees or the candidates out there would be like, it's just not worth it because it's not worth the headache of how they treat you. So you really want that experience of what it's like to interact with your company before you even get the job. you want that to be a good experience because it reflects what your employee experience is. It reflects what it's like to be inside the company. And that's your brand. That's the brand that you have for you as an employer. And we'll be talking about that in upcoming webinars too. So let's just focus on the job posts you put out there. Are we posting and hoping? And sadly, because we don't actually know anything else to do, and we're just still doing what we traditionally did, it this is what we resort to. And we're looking for different tactics to get more people to apply or get in front of more candidates. But are we really getting quality candidates from that? So, there's this is some Ed humor of the things he posted in terms of job posts, and it's a matter of, you don't want to just be funny. You actually want to get the right people to get interested. So let's talk about what you can do to get your job posts noticed. Well, we really have to rethink what we're putting out there, because it's one thing to say, hey, we have openings and we pay you money if you come here every day from whatever time to whatever time. And it's a whole different thing when we're dealing with a couple of generations of people now, like the millennials, Generation Z, that are looking for personal satisfaction, as Christy said. They're looking for fulfillment at work. They're looking to have that sort of blurring between their personal life experience and their work life experience. They want it all. They want to know that they're going to fulfill their personal values there. So you got to have that coming across in your job posts. But again, you've got to make sure that they notice that right away. So there's three things that you really want your job post to reflect it. And first, it needs to be concise, like get to the point. So job titles that have 1 to 3 words have double the apply rate. And it's really funny because I worked with an organization here that they do great work in the environment. They do great work in communities, and they had all these obscure long job titles. They were looking for somebody to join their C-suite, but they named it something totally different. Like they had an internal name, and I was like, who are you looking for? Like, what is this role? And the lady I was working with said, "Oh, it's really just a senior director of finance." And I'm like, well, could you say that? And that's what you want. You need to say what it is, right? Don't have 12 plus words. And then branding is all about consistency, right? If Coca-Cola like just changed their color every single week, we wouldn't recognize their brand, and it'd be hard to market. The same with our company. If we want to be recognized as a place that is a workplace of choice, there's got to be consistency in how you put the message out there. So you want to just make sure that when people see a job post from your company, that the messaging in the job posting is consistent and it lines up with what you have on your careers page and with what you post on all the other job boards and any places that you recruit. The whole company story that you're telling about what it's like to work here is reflected everywhere. And we're working right now actually with a bank on doing that, and just taking their company website and putting the careers page up in the navigation so that people can see, hey, they're always hiring. And then making sure that we actually tell these people out there that are looking for fulfilling jobs that we do a lot of fulfilling things here. So we want to show all the good aspects of the company, and then we want to make sure that it's consistent. And that's the next step in what we'll be doing in the work with this bank. Is we're going to make sure that what we've spent all these months working on the career site is going to be reflected when they post on Indeed and what they are branding Glassdoor with, so that it just has that consistent message. And then most of all, like, people want engagement. The experience has to be engaging, the post has to be engaging, and it needs to invite the candidate in. they need to feel like they're going to get something out of this process, because ultimately, when it all comes down to it, we're selfish at heart. We want to know what's in it for me. So that's what WIIFM is. So whenever you're reading your job posts and you look at it and it says, like, all about our company, and we're looking for this and that and the other thing, and we want somebody that's got this many years experience, who are you speaking to? You want to think, if I want somebody to pay attention to me, just like in dating, if I'm doing all the talking, they aren't getting anything out of it. They get to listen to me, and they're like, yeah, you're all about yourself. And with that dating thing, we need to make sure that they know we're interested in them, right? So that's what we want to reflect in the job post. And so back to the candidate experience. Um, if we're looking at this, we want to think about what what's really the attention grabbing aspect of your job. And most people are just scanning everything, right? Because our attention spans are decreasing. So anytime that you have a chance to use a headline in your job post, like anything that has a bigger font point that you can put in there, you've got Google and all the web crawlers that are pulling those, and they put more weight on what you write in those headlines. So you don't want to waste that real estate. You want to you don't want to put things like job requirements, or uh, really boring stuff like duties and things like that, or experience. You want to put something that's going to speak to the candidate, and say something about what they how you will develop, or skills you bring to the table, things that are about them. And when you use those headings properly, it will actually impact them more, and they'll choose to read on, because that's what a headline does, right? It's marketing the rest of the content. You're really marketing the rest of your job post. And then back to that consistency factor. um, we really are in a digital era, right? So everything is online, and there's interaction and engagement happens through digital media. And the trust level of the digital sort of medium is very low. People don't know if they're actually interacting with a human. They don't know if you say the same thing to everybody. They want to know that there's actually a person on the other side. And we need to look at building trust, like upping the level of trust in our company, in us as a place to work, and ultimately in the brand that we're portraying with our company. So we have our business brand that our customers look for, but we want to really take this whole experience of how it is to interact with us in the hiring process and start making it consistent, so people know every time, like, if I tell you to go apply there, you're going to have a good experience of it, and that's a brand as well. So if it's not consistent, just like if Coke just kept changing their logo and their can, and their, you didn't know what you were actually buying, it's confusing, and they won't trust the company. So the same with you is, if you're putting out your job posts and people can't tell, like, is this the same company? Are they advertising for the same position? Um, they're going to have a hard time recommending you to other people. So make sure that you have a consistent approach to how you put your jobs out there and the messaging you're using.
Yeah.
And we'll show you some really good ways to do that in some examples, and in the PDF that you can download, so you can take it away and actually start working with your job posts now.
Yeah, I don't know if this applies to anyone in the room today, but I know one of the clients that Paul and I were working with, they've got their corporate brand, and then they've got divisions, and each of those divisions has their own company name, really. It's like XYZ company, a division of ABC kind of thing, right? And so when they're advertising for each of those divisions. So someone who's saying, well, I want to work for this parent company, and then they just see ads for all these divisions, it's confusing. And it's one of the biggest challenges they're having. And so that may not be something you're struggling with, but it's a great example of the consistency of message, right? And is the vibe consistent that Paul was talking about?
Engagement is such a critical factor today. And you think about, how do people communicate now? And not that this is a great thing, but social media is such a big factor in how people interact and how they even talk to each other. So you want to make sure that you are engaging with the candidates because they care more about themselves than your company, and they're looking for something that's going to benefit them and a good experience that they will enjoy. So they're not part of your company yet, so they don't care that much. So you want to put the emphasis on contributing to create on them contributing in your company and how that's going to create a higher level of engagement. And you want to have them be able to see what it's like for them to work in your company. And one thing that we found really interesting, Ed and I were exploring like the different candidate experiences in other companies and seeing what like some of the bigger companies like HubSpot are was doing, and they have an actual careers at HubSpot and again inside HubSpot uh, page on Instagram. So you can actually go and see what's going on inside. Like you'll see the employees just day in the life, what they're doing. You'll see how they're working with clients and the fun things that they're doing out there. And I love HubSpot because they give me lots of great information that I can work with personally, like in my writing when I was looking up things on the different generations out there and what their preferences are. Oh, look, there's a study that goes up to 2023 of thousands of people in all five generations that we find in the workplace, and it's talking about their digital preferences. And HubSpot just compiled all that information for me, and I got to use it. I'm thinking, wow, they're doing that for me. I'm not even a customer. They're doing that for me, like, and they're talking about all these generations, how to attract them. I wonder what it's like, how they appeal to people. How do they engage people? And that's what their company is all about, right? So then you go to their careers page, and what you see is, oh, I can see like people working there. There's like 50 videos of employees there talking about their favorite aspects of working here. There's a lot of engagement there. And then they ask you, do you need help with this? We understand it's scary looking for a job or applying. The process is hard. So let's give you some let's give you some tips. Our recruiters, they're out there to help you. They really want to support you in the process. We're not trying to screen you out. We're trying to help you opt in. And
Mhm.
that's the big mindset shift that we need to have with this candidate experience, right? We're no longer trying to exclude. We want the good talent to want to come on board, even when there's not a job opening. So anything you can do to help people see themselves in the company, because like the things I was telling you about HubSpot, like I think that'd be a great place to work, and makes my wheels turn. Like, what would it be? Would I go work
Yeah.
somewhere where people treated me like that? Because they're really transparent. So engagement is something expected. Like if if you put a post up on Facebook or on Instagram, like it's nice to see likes and hearts and people. It's nice to get comments and see what people are saying and then writing back and engaging. That's engagement, and that's what people are expecting when they have interest in a company. They can go to LinkedIn and chat with an employee. They can go to this Instagram page and have and say, "Wow, that's a great project. Is that what you always are working on?" And that sort of feedback, getting feedback like that will keep them looking and wanting to see, hey, if there's a job opening like that, I'm gonna try and get on board.
Here's some fun.
Oh, oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, grab your phone and just take a picture of this QR code, scan it, and what it does is it's going to take you to this website that is going to tell you how mobile friendly your website is. So if you took your careers page and you pasted it into that link from the careers page into this this website, it'll give you a score and tell you how mobile friendly your website is. And that's really important today. And actually, a big factor with this bank that we've been working on, they we created a video, and we wanted that video to come up first, and the people that the web designers are like, well, that'll slow the page load speed down, and it's so important that things come up fast because you want it to load really fast on the mobile, because that's where most people are. They're, you know, they're not sitting in front of their computers, and they're doing everything on their mobile devices. You got to make sure that the candidate experience includes a good mobile experience. And if your pages aren't mobile friendly, you're losing out, because people will just abandon your page. So even if they were interested, they lost interest because it got too hard. And that you know, that could have been your next great hire. It could have been the talent that took you to the next level. So you don't want to lose those opportunities.
One of the things, Paul, that you and I have seen is, and a lot of companies do this. They're like, oh yeah, my jobs page is fine. But they forget that their jobs page is different than, say, going out to Indeed or whatever. So wherever you have a job posting, put that URL into this and see if that is mobile friendly. You would think that Indeed or a career builder or whatever would still be a mobile friendly, and they'd be up with the latest tech and all that. But this will let you know for sure whether you've got some kind of loading
And
problem.
and you want to check those connections between the your careers page and the site that is hosting your job posts, because if there's a problem there and it's going to you know, the 404 page, which Ed's seen before, um, you know, like people get frustrated. They're like, there's no job posts here, so they go away, right? They're not going to ask you, hey, you know, are those did you mean to have actual postings behind these links, or is that an accident? uh, you know, hopefully they do, but more than likely they're on to the next site. So making these posts convert, and this is something I like doing, because I look at these job posts, and if I don't understand them, then I'm not going to read them. And most job posts I don't understand, I have to say. And we think, because we're inside our industry, inside our company, that the insiders understand this language. And it's just not the case, right? I mean, with anything, like even you know, people in the same profession, yeah, we have our lingo, we have our jargon that we talk, but it's so much nicer to hear things in English, right? So if you just will say it in simple, plain English, it would be way better. There's a reason why, say, the news is in like grade 6 or lower language, because people like that. Even really smart people just like to have simple words, simple sentences, easy to understand. The clearer, the more concise, the more engaging you can be, the better. But this, what we pulled this from an actual job posting with an engineering firm that we worked with. And so they're saying, like, about their company, they're saying, well, you know, ABC Co is 100% employee owned engineering design firm offering competitive salaries, professional development, and a comprehensive benefits package. We're seeking an energetic and goal-oriented civil engineer, project manager to support our municipal engineering team in Philadelphia, PA. So everything in this language is talking about what the company wants, what they're looking for, and it's serving them. But we want to see what's in it for the people that are looking for a job. You know, I mean, yeah, you can argue that, well, we are saying like there's competitive salaries, there are benefits packages, and that it's employee owned. You should understand that. But in marketing, we don't leave these things to chance. Like when we want an employee, not an employee, a customer to buy something, we don't want them to have to figure things out. We want to make it really simple for them to click buy, and one click buy, so that it's like in their cart, and like, they're getting the email saying thank you for their order without any steps. There's a reason we make things that simple, because it converts, right? It makes a sale. So if we understand that about selling products and getting customers, and we're struggling to find these candidates, these people that are going to fill our openings, why don't we just apply the same thing and make it really easy and straightforward for them to see the benefit? So let's look at the new
So,
way.
should we do that? Should we show them the new way?
Yeah, don't leave them hanging, Ed. Okay, so what we did is this company was really they Ed knew them from working with them before, and they're close to where he lives and works. And he was telling me this is a really great company. Like, they have lots of people that have worked there for a long time, and they really like it there, and they're really struggling to fill their positions because people keep wanting to go to the bigger firms, right? The firms they know about. And this is the problem, right? When you want to be a workplace of choice. Well, how do you become a workplace of choice? Well, you just need to be really big and well known. Well, what if you're not really big and well known? Well, at least be well known in your area, be big around where you have impact. So you need to tell people what is going on in here. Ed got a team of us together to work with their HR and show them some marketing, and we talked to their employees. And one one guy said, "This is the best place to work," and everybody that I was talking to was saying, "I love working here because of this and because of that." And in the interviews, I would record them, and then I'd get these quotes, and they said, ABC Co is at the forefront of sustainability. We're not just talking about the projects, we're actually doing them. And you know what wastewater management is? It's like sewer stuff, right? And then it's biosolids. Biosolids in sewers, I don't really want to know what that is, right? But these people like doing it because it's environmental. They're coming up with solutions for communities. They're doing new cutting edge stuff, and they're excited about it. And the right person's going to be excited about it. But they're not going to be excited when they see that, ABC Co is looking for an engineer to manage projects, right? So then here we revamped what they said, and they as a senior project manager, you will lead the municipal wastewater team, and so you're going to be a leader. You will be providing your technical expertise and guidance. So we're talking about them. You will be the trusted advisor to our clients with the freedom to develop new business relationships and close new opportunities. So we're showing them the autonomy that they're going to have, and how much control over their days, and the importance of them being there. You will have the chance to grow your skill set and access exciting new projects while integrating with our municipal engineering team. So same job, same same requirements, but much more interesting, much more exciting. And examples of projects you will oversee: biosolids, those things you don't want to know about in the sewer, and renewable energy development. But from a environmental standpoint, which we know that the generations coming in are really concerned about, they're they're making it something that people want to get on board with, join our vision, become so with access to ongoing training and development, you will enjoy a fulfilling and dynamic career surrounded by a team where employee individuality is harnessed and integrated. So we put that out, and all of a sudden they started getting people applying to the jobs that nobody wanted before.
And one of the biggest things I want to emphasize, Paul, with this one, if you recall, was that they were trying to move this piece of their business. They were trying to open up in the Philadelphia market. And, so while here in Central PA, we may not have a lot of big names in engineering, all the big names are in Philly. And that was their big challenge, was how are we going to compete with the big boys down there? That was their exact quote. And we got that office staffed up by showing them how to do this and how to do this right. And this is one of the actual job post with that quote in there from that senior project manager, because that's testimony, right, to what's really going on.
So back to mobile friendly, yeah, just 60% of job seekers quit because it wasn't mobile friendly. Millennial job seekers using their job mobile device to apply for jobs. So you don't want too many clicks on there. 68% are doing those applications on their phones, and 61% of job applications were completed on mobile device in 2020. What can you do to create value and excitement in your job postings and make your organization stand out? We have Ed's going to tell you how to download the exact steps that we used with the engineering firm, and you'll see their job posts.
So you have to ask yourself, what is it that you can do to create some excitement, that when someone reads that post, it doesn't get lost in the crowd, right? What's the headline? What's the bulleted points? What's the call to action? What's in it for me as the reader? Those are the positions now that we need to be taking in the writing, so that when folks look at this job ad, they're saying, oh my gosh, it is speaking to me. They're looking exactly for me. That's the visceral response that we want. And so that starts with thinking about what's different about your workplace. Now, maybe your workplace doesn't look like this, right? With all these hammocks and, hangout pods and whatever. But we all have things that are cool about our workplace. And I was on with one of my coaching clients earlier, and she had been out taking care of a very ill mother. And I said, well, how did that go? Because one of the things we're coaching on is she has trouble letting go of things in her leadership role. And she said, Ed, the people that filled in for me raved about my team and how my team was so self-sufficient and just stepped up to the plate in my absence. Okay, that's something different about that workplace and about that work team. We can celebrate that kind of thing in our job ads. So if she was looking for a new manager, I'd say, let's go get some quotes from those managers about what it's like to work for you, or what it's like to work for this organization. And let's get those in there. We have those anecdotes at our disposal. All we have to do is go pull. So we've been teasing this for the last hour. You can get your phones out again. If you'll scan this QR code, there's an option there to give Paul and I some feedback on today. And we would love to hear that feedback, please. Good, bad, and ugly. We want to hear it all, because these sessions are about all of you, and they're for all of you. And so we want to make them better each and every single month. And so if you scan the QR code, you don't even actually have to type that in on the screen where it says job post. That should already be in there for you. Answer those couple of questions for us. You're going to get a download of exactly how to go through the writing process for a job ad to get the results we just showed you.
There's like some other cool things that we're doing that we didn't introduce throughout the webinar, but every month we're actually going to offer a metric that we think is going to be associated with the webinar, but it's just useful to have in your arsenal, so that you can actually start tracking how improvements you're making in your recruitment process, how they're impacting the actual quality of the candidates that you're getting. And now that you got that under control, Ed, I'm just for this month, we had chosen a specific metric that we're gonna actually put out. But what was the metric of the month this month?
Oh, so it's going to be all about recruiting and looking at a very specific way to study how good the candidates are coming in. And we're so excited to share this with you. Keep your eye out on social media for links. Paul and I will be recording some very short videos on our metric of the month. We got this idea last month when we ended up our webinar series with a couple of metrics that we wanted to talk about. And we said, you know what, let's go out with metric of the month. So we're going to put that out for everyone. You'll also get an email probably sometime Monday from us with a link to the recording of this session. So there's things you want to see again, or you want to share it with others, by all means, forward it through your organizations or in your professional networks. We're happy to have you do that. And yeah, basically anyone can get some access there. So we will be putting out a metric of the month, generally, around the middle of the month or so. And each of them is going to help you take what we've talked about in the webinar of the month just a little bit further. How can you measure those things? So we're really excited about that. So you should see that coming out in another few days. One other quick tease before we wrap up is that Paul and I have been for some time now working on a book together. And it is in the finishing touches of kind of, making sure just all the edits are in there and we're communicating in the way we want to communicate. But the book is going to be all things winning the war for talent. And we realized as we were putting the webinars together last year, we just had so much content and we love sharing it. So keep your eyes out for a book coming from us, hopefully by the end of the fourth quarter, or not the fourth quarter, excuse me. We are in the first quarter already. By the end of the first quarter of this year, we're hoping to have that out and about.
No, I need that off my plate. So it's happening. It's happening.
So we have about 1 minute left. Are there any questions that we can answer that we have not yet answered about this topic of job posts that convert and your candidate engagement? I don't see any hands going up. So we're going to wrap that up for the month. Paul, thanks for joining me again. Always a pleasure to hang out with you. And we'll look forward to seeing all of you next month on February 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern to continue our discussion on all things winning the war for talent. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.